Okay, so we're going to quickly create an MCP server. Now, do a little bit of homework here, and I like to caveat this with I am by no means a developer first. I have learned a lot of this stuff just over the years, writing JavaScript as much as I can, living in these web applications with Wiz, Xano, and so on, and just learning a lot of AI over the past year. If I'm wrong about something, please correct me in the comments. I am happy to go back and adjust anything. And of course, we're all here to improve. But I put together a quick MCP server for the Gamma Core tool that I can link below that I made available and I've made some videos about. The goal of that tool is to really help you build your brand foundation so you can have something that is clear to communicate to your customers and launch really quickly. This is going to be an extension of that. Now, later, I'm going to build some agents with this as well. And right now, actually, after this, I'm going to go ahead and show you how this is connected to Claude Desktop in this scenario. So we can also modify the brand in real time if you're a little bit more savvy and advanced and you want to do that like I do now. So again, if you're here, that means that you're interested in building an MCP server for yourself for whatever reason, or maybe just you want to use one here if you're using my brand tool. In Xano, here, we're going to have an instance. In this case, I'm in my brand tool, and then you'll have AI tools here on the left. Okay. You'll create a new one. You'll give it a name and maybe some instructions and so on. I actually don't know if I gave myself instructions on this one. I've already created one. I could do a little bit of homework here. Okay. Yeah, this does have a little bit of data here. Cool. So those instructions are really to guide the LLM that you're working with, Claude or whatever, to know what to do with this MCP and what's kind of expected out of it. This description is mainly for yourself or team, and then you have tags, which I haven't done this now, but I'll work on this a little later. And then you can just go ahead and grab the connection URL, okay? And now we have tools. So if you're familiar, you have your MCPs here. I have a bunch, and these all have tools. Like Webflow has a bunch, 21. You can do a bunch of things here. And these have a function that will do something with any given data that comes in. And I have two tools for now. So one, I have something really simple, get business information. And so I'm going to go ahead and show you quickly how to do that. If you're familiar at all with Xano, then you are familiar with the function stacks, and we still have to build functions because the LLM has to know what to do with this data. In this case, I'm just querying all records. So the goal of this one is to really be able to get the business data, okay? And so I added query all records, and I did a filter. So when the business ID is equal to the ID we give it, or the business name is equal to the ID we give it, okay? Now, this is not really something that we'd want to have in this tool for like production use out in the public, I don't think. Really, we want to have some auth here, and I'll get into that probably in another video. But this is like mainly for me. I can go in there and I can edit these because that gives access to anyone's record if you know what the names are. And we can also still run this just like normal. Now I can save it. I didn't address anything, but we hit run to test. I can search Gamma Labs or my business ID. Maybe we can hit run and boom, it gives me my information. Okay, so this is my agency. Cool. So that's good. You can publish that. You don't really need to do anything. Now our first one's done. This just gets information. And we'll test that here in a little bit. But I want to do a second one. We have update business information. This is where things are a little bit more complex. There's a lot that get information. You can do other things. And man, really the sky's the limit when it comes to these MCP. But for now, I have two. So I have update business information and get business information. And so now what I want to do is be able to update the business information. So same thing. We do have our settings for the tool to give us some instructions. And so we'll do that here in a bit. And now we have get all raw input. So what this is doing is actually just getting the raw data input that goes beyond the business ID. So in order to do this, we're going to have to get the record, search the business ID. So we'll make sure we're still referencing the correct business. And here is where we'll be able to update that business information. So I'm going to patch this. Okay. And so we're going to search here, reference that business ID to then make sure we're patching the right record. And we're going to do that with the raw requests, which has all of our data. and we need to filter out any empty stuff if anything exists in there. And that's going to allow us to correctly patch our data, so a business, without deleting everything, because I've done that way too many times, and trying to set up patch requests. But thankfully, Xano released this a while back to make things a little easier. And so again, for example, we can run this, and name is not in here, right? So that's going to be part of the raw data. And so say I want to patch that, I can run that, and then the name changes. And then if I want to run it again and then remove the LLC, then you see it change here too without deleting the rest of this. And that's what we want. Okay, we want to be able to keep the information that is not changing and change information that is coming in. And the LLM can do that. Now, I think one of the important parts here is to really grab the schema. And so I did do this one of my other requests. So I'm going to go back to all my tools. Okay, I'm going to grab this is a manage auth. Okay, my settings here, and I do have all the content here. Okay, so this is kind of like the schema that is coming in. And here's where I want to be able to tell the LLM, here's what to expect. All right. I'm going to come back here. We're going to go to settings, and we're going to type out. So this tool is meant to update. Okay, so the example schema here. Okay, so let's do that. This might not be the best instructions. Again, doing this for the first time with you here. So we're going to save that. All right, and I'm going to publish this as well. So I'm going to do added MCP instructions. Okay, cool. So now we have our two tools. And in our MCP documentation with Xano, they do give you our example here to go and install this recursor. So you can go and follow these instructions if you'd like. All we have to do is go to our Claude settings and then open up our JSON file with your editor, text editor of choice. And then now we can go ahead and see this here. So let's go ahead and test this out and see how this is working. So I'm going to do a sonnet, that's fine, and say, can you give me free business information on all right, and it's going to look for this business or as close to it as possible and search for that. So let's see if it's going to call this MCP. It is not. Okay, it's neither the email address or the business ID number. That is not really correct. There is an email, but I do have business name. Okay, so here's the example schema. Okay, formatted this. So search in instructions for searching. Publish. Okay. And then let's go back to, let's go back here and let's try this one more time. Second, use search. Great, brand building. And then I want to always allow. Cool. So let's see how it returns. Great in front of business, grand coffee goes. Cool. But yeah, it is returning everything in a nice readable format. And I want to make an update. So let's try this. So I'm going to paste the request that I kind of had earlier. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to start leaning towards into reserve. So a little bit about the brand building, and I think I used the grind in an example. It's been a little bit. To not really get into a tangent here, we really want to, and brands really do this in general, is lean towards serving a type of person rather than leaning on the product yourself. For example, we've talked about this plenty of times. We love quality copy. We can't lean on quality alone because other places have great quality too. And in fact, there are a couple that we enjoy going to out of, around town when we're running errands and stuff, when we tell other people to go visit. So we want to serve a certain type of person. We're trying to get even deeper into that. We really love doers and creators and really people who are bringing ideas to life. And so now it's time to really lean into that even more. And we want to talk about the person who doesn't quit. Now I'm not going to get into that, but I'm going to paste this here and see MCP is working okay. I'm going to see if it will be able to update the data. Okay, so it looks like we are having a little bit of a challenge given to update the MCP information. So I'm going to work on solving that. Take a break, come right back. Okay, so it's been a little bit of troubleshooting, but I did successfully get it. So first of all, I did have to restart Claude in order for it to pick these MCP updates. But all I did was actually I added a JSON, and then in that patch, I'm now referencing the raw request data dot updates, which is that JSON. Okay, and in the instructions, you'll see that I now gave it instructions to do those updates and reference that JSON. I and place it in there with the same structure. And now I can see that when I go over to my request history, it now referenced the input and then updates, and then it did all my updates to, 2000 or so tokens. And you'll see that it did reference this here. Can you update this for the building tool? And then it added all this. And so now we can do great. All right. And then we should be able to get the full updates back. Awesome. Location. Yep. Show up and try again. It looks like a lot of this is all working now. Brand personality is updated. Yep. Cool. And the target customer profile. Awesome. It is all in here. So I've now have the ability to update my brand in Claude, just kind of talking back and forth in LLM, which right now in today's state of the brand tool of me recording this is that it goes through a fixed workflow in order to build the brand. And now this is allowing me to communicate back and forth. At the time of recording this, the agent is not released yet, but hopefully if you're viewing this a little later, the agent will be. So go ahead. If you're wanting to build your brand, try it out. I'll have the link in the description. And hopefully this helps a little bit because I know I was looking for more of the information and trying to find the patch requests and updating information when it comes to the MCP. And so let me know if you want to see more. But next, I'm going to show you building the agents and how I'm doing that with Mostra with their MCP docs and using Brute code. So stay tuned for that one.